Hey there and welcome back to Don't Open That Door. Come along with our triumvirate of terror as we descend into darkness, hurtle into horror, and plunge into peril. If you've got some BDSM gear lying around, you're in the right place. I'm Justin, and I would love to stimulate your pineal gland.
I'm Nico, and I'm from Bed Bath &
Well, Justin, I may not have a stimulated pineal gland, but I do have a stimulated Daniel gland.
Whoa. And we are here today to discuss From Beyond. That's right. This one was directed by Stuart Gordon, starring Barbara Crampton as Dr. Catherine, Jeffrey Combs as Dr. Crawford, Ken Faree as Bubba, the detective, and Ted Sorrell as Dr. Pretorius. Nico doesn't believe in titles because he left all the doctorates off. SMH Nico. So we open
no gods,
with
no
Crawford.
masters.
We open with Crawford Tillinghast, an assistant to the brilliant but twisted Dr. Pretorius. The two have created a machine known as the resonator, which stimulates the pineal gland in the human brain and allows people to see things beyond the confines of reality. The experiment works, but it reveals that we are surrounded by creatures that under normal circumstances can't see us. But when the resonator's on, they can see us and do more. The creatures attack, killing Dr. Pretorius, and the police are called to the scene. Crawford is soon arrested and then sent to a mental hospital. For more on that, we go to our reporter on the scene inside the hospital, Nico.
Thank you for not saying, for someone who knows a thing or two about that, for once.
Well, no, that would have been our agent on the scene, Chris Redfield, but he's not here right now. So Nico.
Right.
Understandable. Yo, he
Go
would
for
have
it.
made short fucking work of this movie, can I just say? Anyway, so while in the hospital, Crawford is released under the supervision of Dr. Catherine. She examines his pineal gland, and listens to his story about his experiments. They link up with Bubba, a local detective, and they decide to go back to the house where Crawford was conducting his experiments. Once there, in a catastrophically stupid fucking move, they reactivate the resonator, and they find that Dr. Pretorius is still alive, kinda, in a manner of speaking. So as it turns out, he was consumed by an unknown entity and has begun to merge with it. Pretorius then attacks our trio, but Crawford rushes to the basement instead of just shutting the fucking resonator off, fights off a giant worm, then shuts off the machine, disrupting his attack.
Well, I know all about getting my attack disrupted, so I'll take the next piece. Crawford, Catherine, and Bubba are very shakitaned by the incident, but Catherine can't get over the possibilities of the machine.
I forgot about that whole conversation already.
Yeah.
Basically, she thinks that she can use it to maybe help treat people that have schizophrenia. More on that later. And so while the other two are fast asleep, don't know why you'd go to sleep in this house, Catherine reactivates the machine.
Surely hotels exist, right? Or like their homes?
Professor Evil, aka Pretorius, reappears in an even more monstrous state. And like the group get attacked by these otherworldly flies, bees, hornets, I don't know, but they killed the shit out of Bubba. Crawford then grows
R.I.P. to
an
my man.
appendage that bursts out of his pineal gland, and for those of you who know, it looks kind of like the thing from like Leonard Nimoy's Seaman. Yeah, Google that if you want some nightmare fuel. But Catherine
There's an A in that word. Very
Yeah, I was
important.
just thinking yeah. Be careful when you Google that, please.
Yes, okay, there is an A. Catherine manages to short-circuit the resonator, and she and Crawford flee. Dan, I know you don't flee, because Dan don't flee. But what happens next?
Well, back at the hospital, Crawford is eating brains and going crazy, but Catherine escapes to go back to the house one more again. This time to destroy the resonator with a bomb. Kind of a smart move, I guess, maybe? Well, Crawford goes after her, and Professor Pretorius turns the resonator on one last time and attacks again. He consumes Crawford, but Crawford fights for control, and the bomb goes off, killing Crawford, Professor Pretorius, and destroying the resonator. The movie ends with Catherine losing her mind and repeating, "It ate him." The end.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and turn on our own resonator of sorts and let's see beyond here. Dan, how does this movie sound?
It sounds all right. No real comment on there. I mean, there's some gory sounds which sound gory. Yeah, no particular comment. I thought it was fine.
Agreed. Pretty unremarkable, in my opinion, with a quick shout out just for Detective Bubba, because he plays the role of kind of the
He was the
everyman.
best part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he oftentimes says exactly what the audience is thinking.
Yep.
So I like his dialogue. Nico, anything you got on sound?
Not a whole lot, really. The Foley was fine. Nothing that was super out of the, well, I was going to say out of the ordinary for this movie, but that's not true. But I mean, nothing that was unexpected for the time period, I guess, in terms of the sort of average baseline quality that you would expect out of a sort of schlocky 80s horror movie.
All right. Well, then why don't we go ahead and flip the switch and take it to the looks? How'd you think it looked?
I really liked the way that Pretorius looked in particular. I mean, I hated it, but I think the practical effects were, for the most part, really good. I absolutely hated this little stupid, I keep calling it a forehead clit because that's all I can think of now, aside from Leonard Nimoy's Seaman. Again, there's an A in there. And it looks so fucking goofy, man. Like, y'all had the full potential of making something monstrous and gory and use some actual tentacles, but no, instead you've got like a shrimpy little hot dog jutting out of your, like, between your eyebrows because you're this supreme psychic being. That's the route that we're going for here.
It's kind of like a combination of the third eye and this clit's really easy to find.
It's impossible to miss. More like.
It's a pretty horny movie, and more on that later. But Dan,
Yeah.
what'd you think of the looks?
I mostly echo Nico's thoughts. I thought that Seaman was a little stupid. But other than that, I liked the effects a lot. If you're a fan of 80s effects and 80s costuming and just that kind of stuff, this movie's right up your alley. There's a lot of it. It's well done. It's, I don't want to say over the top because that's not the right word, but it's ubiquitous in the film, maybe. There's a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I thought it looked pretty darn good.
One thing I will say really quickly that I forgot to mention earlier is the part where, and I laughed at this as Justin was talking about it in the synopsis, but like there's a moment when Dr. Pretorius is like, we see from his perspective now that he and what's his fuck protagonist's son
Crawford.
Thank you, have like fused together, and we see this what could be maybe described as like unicorn vomit a la Office Paint or something for his vision, and it's like, it's beautiful, and it's actually really ugly and doesn't look good. Like, I know it was the 80s, but like that looked bad. Come on.
Well, it's because it's like, you know how if you have a TV that only shows in 1080 and you're watching a trailer that shows something in 4K and you're like, I don't think it looks that great. It's because your pineal gland hasn't been stimulated, but if it had been.
Yeah, I was just going to say that actually.
Oh, well.
Yeah, see. Now, as far as the looks go, I agree with the two of you. In particular, I think this one had a bigger dose of body horror than I would have thought initially. Yeah. So there is that, but all in all, I like the way it looks. And I think, if anything, the effects are probably one of the movie's stronger points. Now, we have to kind of decapitate this one right off the bat. Dr. Catherine thinks that she can solve schizophrenia or at least help people with schizophrenia with the resonator. Does anyone on the podcast think that's actually going to work out?
Bro, what is the state of modern medicine that we go to that? Like, there's shock therapy and then there's, I don't know, ethereal psychic piranha therapy. Like, how do we get from there from one point to the next?
Yeah, it kind of came across as something that she said it, and at first you're like, all right, let me see where you're going with this. But then, no. Like, by the end of it, you're like, there's like no way this would work. 0% chance. This cannot help anyone. You've made a fatal mistake.
What got me was like, at first, of course, everyone thinks Crawford's crazy. So, and he's in the mental facility. So they're like, oh, he's schizophrenic. Okay, fine. I mean, he's not, but like, that's what they think. So then, they prove, Dr. Catherine and all them prove that he's not schizophrenic and that schizophrenia has nothing to do with what he's experiencing. And then she's like, hey, I think this could solve schizophrenia. Like, wait, you just proved it has nothing to do with schizophrenia. Why would you think this can solve schizophrenia? Like, what? That's what got me.
Right. And to be honest, they do throw, just so listeners know, we actually paid attention. They do have a couple throwaway lines to the pineal gland, and maybe that's what allows schizophrenics to, or not allows, but maybe the delusions that people who suffer from schizophrenia have are actually the result of them being able to see beyond, which falls apart real fucking quick if you take a second to think about it. But either way, yeah, that's a negativo on our part. Now, what was not a negativo, and Dan, I was going to follow up with something you said, because you said you thought something looked pretty good. And I was going to say, see also Barbara Crampton, because this movie's quite horny at times, but for scientific reasons, I promise, much like my anime, because the pineal gland makes you horny, right, Nico?
Apparently. I mean, it's been a while. It's been a while since I took neurobiology, so I could do us all the honors of doing a brief Google search, but frankly, I'm perfect and I don't need to put in any effort. So,
all right, Dan, what's your thoughts?
I'm not a hornologist, but I feel like it checks out, I guess.
Okay.
What about you, Mr. Okay. What about you, Mr. Philosopher? What kind of philosophy are you philosophizing now?
Philosopher.
Well,
Fill
it has
holes of her.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm letting him cook. But so it has been suggested. This is just from what I remember from my prior readings. So per the National Institutes of Health, the NIH, if memory serves, there was data that suggested that sex hormones do in fact regulate pineal melatonin production by modifying beta adrenergic mechanisms. So, yes,
we all remember learning about adrenergic mechanisms back in the day. I mean, who doesn't have a story about those from, the talking with the lads in grade school in between class? And be like, hey, yo, I heard Kelly's got some really developed adrenergics. I've fully lost the plot. Please go on.
All right. Well, needless to say, the characters in this movie do get rather horny. Like, literally, Bubba walks in and she's like, I can't explain something. And then he's like, well, can you explain my raging hard-on? And I'm just like, hey, yo. Calm down, good sir. Calm down.
The dialogue is a treat, but the script is so fucking bad.
Yeah. Now, quick question here. Nico, you said you lost the script, but I'm going to ask you to find a story instead. I know, and we sent Nico on this journey. We did a DOTD deep dive. A DOTDDD. And
okay,
you read the short story, didn't you, Nico?
I did. I am I want to do my job as a deep diver into literature, as is my prerogative, and so I took that L. It's not really bad. Frankly, I like the short story better than this, I'll be honest. But, I'll give you all the TLDR here real quick. Because a lot of Lovecraft stories especially the shorter ones, are pretty formulaic. And so here's basically what happens. Basically, we have the more or less a similar plot structure minus the third act. So we got, whoa, my scientist friend was acting weird. I wonder why. So he goes into the dude's lab. Dude looks super fucked up, and there's a machine, and it does stuff, and it helps you see into beyond. So it fucking brain blast him. Some random assistants die because, I mean, shout out to workers' comp, all that. My guy then takes out the blicky, he shoots the machine, and the end. And there's a whole lot of the usual, there are undescribable things that I just can't describe, but I'm gonna anyway. And also, naturally, he mentions magenta, I want to say a good 3 or 4 times. So, the huge.
Yeah, that was nice. And I apologize if we didn't say this, but this movie is in fact based on a short story by H.P. Lovecraft from Beyond. Sorry about that, dear listener. Now,
it's just an
Dan,
unhinged rant from Nico. Everyone's like, what
totally unrelated, but
Right. So, Dan, given that this is kind of cosmic horror, what elements of cosmic horror do you see in this?
Definitely has a lot of the from beyond elements, creatures from beyond, gods from beyond, whatever, something from beyond that infects the mind and makes people go crazy or whatever.
Right.
I mean, I'd say that's far and away the biggest one.
Nico, do you concur?
The other one that I see is just the emphasis on body horror. And body horror isn't necessarily always inextricably linked to cosmic horror, but I find that when cosmic horror is done well, there is a lot of that just because of what inevitably is dealt to our corporeal forms that we just simply cannot handle. And so we transform into something monstrous, which is absolutely what happens in this for sure.
Right, I agree, and I think that's strictly true. Now, are there any, I guess, where does this stack up to you guys in the pantheon of cosmic horror movies? And I say this because there are a lot of attempts at cosmic horror, and a lot of them fall flat, namely because of an element that Nico spoke on earlier, which is, how do you describe an indescribable thing? Well, it's also very difficult to show something that cannot be described. So,
yeah,
where do you guys think this stacks up? We've watched a fair chunk of cosmic horror on the pod. I'd like to watch more, but we've watched a fair chunk already. Where does this stack up? Is this a good cosmic horror? Is this a bad cosmic horror? What is it?
So I will lead the charge here, as I am often keen on doing. In terms of, you mentioned falling flat, and if I wanted to compare this to a musical scale, it would be Locrian. So, like, basically all flats. I am not a fan of the execution here. I feel like it needed a lot more time, either in production or just revising the script. Because, like, one of the things that bugs me about this and one of our previous entries in this wonderful cavalcade of fuckery that we just reviewed, Life Force, there was a sudden just influx of real horn dog energy, and it just comes out of nowhere, and it's like all the tension they're trying to establish is immediately broken when you hear, as Justin mentioned, "Hey, can you explain my raging hard dick?" Just like, and then we again just sort of, we are led to believe that, oh, this doctor's just going to walk into a house she's never been into except for one day prior, and then just come fully equipped with like fucking fetish wear. And okay, I just don't buy any of it.
That wasn't hers.
Sorry, not come fully equipped, but just like so readily transition directly into that. I misspoke.
I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can forgive some of it, but you are overall correct. Dan, in the pantheon of cosmic horror, Is this high, low, somewhere in between?
I think that it's a good cosmic horror, but bad movie. I think that
That's
it
fair.
checks the boxes of what cosmic horror is, or at least one aspect of it, very much so. So I think by definition, it plays it by the books, but I don't think it does a very good job. To all of Nico's points a minute ago, like it's the execution just isn't there for me. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a very classic cosmic horror story. Obviously, it was based very heavily on a cosmic horror story. Godfather of cosmic horror, really. Yeah, that doesn't really do it for me.
I just I have to interject really quick. You mentioned like how it reminds you of the classic cosmic horror stories, and now I'm just imagining H.P. Lovecraft talking about Arkham, which is based on Boston. So it is fair to assume that he had an accent probably similar to that. So just imagine him back in his cozy little cabin talking about, and then the fish man made me rock hard, or just whatever. Like those classic stories
Ah,
of unexplainable erections.
Speaking of, we definitely got to watch Dagon on the podcast because I quite like it. But
Much better movie.
neither here nor there. I agree with Dan's sentiment. I do think it's a decent enough cosmic horror, but my issue is an issue that Nico brought up. I think they got it very wrong in the third act or the final act, however you want to put it. Because when we discussed them going back to the hospital and then back to the house again, that was kind of a waste. Honestly, a better ending, in my opinion, would have been things are going on at the house, and then the same nosy neighbor from the start, because she's still alive, calls the cops show up, and as they're like breaking in, the heroes manage to destroy the machine, but at the cost of Crawford's life. And the only thing left in the rubble and the ruin of everything is Dr. Catherine, and that's where the police find her. I think them going back to the hospital is a total waste of time and very unnecessary. And I guess speaking of the ending, though, do you guys agree with me that it could have ended earlier or should have? Or do you like that they went to the hospital and back? Because it's a shortish movie already, so it's up to you guys.
I think they should have ended it where you said, but also maybe expanded the first chunk a little bit
Okay.
so that
Yeah.
it wouldn't be just like a 1 hour movie. Like it still could have been an hour 20 or however long it was, but they should have cut that end off and just made the rest a little longer.
Okay, that's plausible. Nico?
Yeah, I really think that developing the first act with more, I don't know if I would call this world building or like character building, but like that, and just I think more subtly showing how the resonator makes people act uncharacteristically, instead of going from, all right, this is a local investigation. My God, I am quite erect.
But what about the movie, Nico?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I think that if it had ended at around about the hour mark, it would have certainly had a little bit easier of a time wrapping things up. And if you combine that with just a little bit more development, a little more polish, I think this could have been just like so much better.
Okay, agreed. Now, I want to take it over to the what would you do?
Mm.
And I really want to know what would you do in this scenario?
I pass.
Because I guess it's more of a philosophical question than anything else. Let's say the machine somehow survives and is not totally destroyed. And the records and the notes and everything, we, as the scientific council of DOTD, are made aware of this machine and what it
Okay.
can and cannot do. Do you see a benefit to humanity, and would you keep the machine around? Or would you forever destroy it?
Here's what I would do. I would sell it, like pitch it, and obviously I would win because this man that I'm about to name is a pure fucking simpleton. I would sell this to Elon Musk and get him involved on it, so that not only would it make him just sort of crumble into the ethereal pain dimension, but also his structural, managerial, design ineptitude would he would be the one to figure out how to fuck this up. He would be the one to just clumsily prance his way into victory here.
Next thing you know, like, you buy a fucking Tesla and, like, you're driving around, you have an enlarged pineal gland now as you're, like, driving around.
Fuck.
So while I can't tell if Nico is in support of or trying to assassinate said celebrity, Dan.
Most certainly the latter. Let's make it perfectly fucking clear. For legal reasons, that is a joke.
I would destroy it. Fuck that.
Destroy it?
Yeah. See fucking other dimension piranhas running around? No, thanks. Nah. And especially as soon as I sell fucked up Dr. Pretorius, the blob thing, I don't know. No. Like, the fuck? No. Absolutely not.
I would keep it around.
Bro.
Nah.
I'm
never coming over again.
Yo, that's some real I can fix her shit, Justin. I just want you to know.
But I can.
Called that shit a mile away. Continue.
But I just have this feeling in my heart that no matter what, sometimes at night I look up at the sky and I wait, you know.
Leave recording. End session for all.
I don't know. I get the feeling that something stirs in the cosmos, you know? And whatever our path is to get there.
Justin, it's me. I am the cosmos. What the fuck are you doing?
I don't know. I feel like it could be a gateway to something so much more.
It's not.
You know, Justin, there probably is shit in the cosmos that we don't see and don't know about, and I would like to keep it that way.
100%.
Is that not why we get lit and watch space movies, though? Because we all know they're really out there, or no?
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See? Yeah.
I mean, I do it for the sense of camaraderie and friendship. I don't know what sort of vision quest you're going on, my guy.
Cosmic beings.
Anyways. I love sci-fi, but I'll be goddamned if I ever go out in space and land on fucking Pluto or some shit. No way.
Yeah, no.
Fair enough. Well, hopefully I don't end the world. But with that out of the way, let's take it to the critic review. Now, my compatriots in horror, what do you think this has on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics?
I'm torn because I would bet that the plot and everything like that is probably getting garbage reviews, or most of the movie is. But I would also bet that the special effects and whatnot are getting great praise. So I'm going to go even 50. I don't know.
I am also I truly have no idea. I feel like this could go like literally any number from 1 to 100. I would be like, yeah, that tracks. Okay, sure. People in the horror community sure are fucking weird, huh? So I'm going to go to the time code once again, and that is 30.
Dan wins. This one has an 80% from critics.
Are you fucking kidding?
Bro, you literally just said, oh, yeah, I would understand.
Yeah, no, I'm fucking with you.
Audience was a little bit less generous with a 70%, but I want to know where you guys are at. What do you think this movie should get? And I will lead. I will pick up my shovel and dig my way out of the cosmos and into the hearts of everyone. I'll say this.
Justin in space for the show. Trying to shovel fucking dark matter or some shit.
Murph, I think... Yeah. We watch Interstellar around these parts. Anyhow, for me, this movie is a 74, and I'll explain why. I think the effects are great. I think the plot up until the third act is completely fine. I like all the characters in their roles. Am I into gilfs if I think Barbara Crampton is hot in this? No, because she wasn't at this point. Right, that's my own internal struggle. So, past all that, I think it's fine. I think it's probably one of the better cosmic horror movies I've seen recently, to be honest. Like, it's just not really great in the third act. It falls flat. But yeah, I mean, Nico's looking at me right now like I just shit on a tray and baked him a brownie. But let me ask you this.
As long as there are two different trays, go for it.
I got to take your take, Nico. What's going on with you in your head?
So I'm not gonna be captaining the hate train for this one quite as much as I did with Life Force, but I really don't fuck with this like at all. I am not a fan of the characters. I am not a fan of the plot. I am a fan of Bubba. I take that back. Bubba's great. So I am a fan of only one of the characters, but man, like, if they had just taken out the little fucking weird Leonard Nimoy Seaman, there's an A in there. Like, if they just put something else, like some claws or something, that would have, I feel, just been such a boon. And also literally less work on their costuming department, probably. Anyway,
It looks like something that goes on a vibrator.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Yeah. If you've seen it, you know. Anyway, I'm just hemming and hawing. I am gonna give this a 25.
Damn. Well, Dan, I'd rather you not haw around. Just tell me what you think.
I am somewhere in between the two of you. I thought the first half or so of the movie was fine. I didn't love it, but it wasn't egregious or anything. The last half, last third, whatever, it was like you guys said. I fell off from there, and I didn't really like it. But effects were great, characters were except Bubba. Bubba was great. It's 57 for me.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and assume here, given the 25, this is not going to get a recommendation from us here on DOTD. That correct, Nico?
Yeah, you can do better.
That's fair. Dan, I assume you also would not have recommended it.
Probably not.
I would have given it a loose recommend. But on DOTD, it does not get the recommend from us. Now, that being said, if you disagree, if you have a voice you want to voice, hit us up. We're not beyond. We're actually on social media.
It's true.
We are on X and Instagram at DOTD Horror. Plus, we're on Facebook. That's Don't Open That Door. So hit us up, talk to us, and you can see everything we've done as well on our website. That is dotdhorror.com. But till then, dear listener,
please tell a friend about us. Word of mouth is awesome, and it is the easiest way to tell people and spread the love.
Nico is right. But until next time, dear listener, I guess don't overstimulate your pineal gland unless you want to get Seaman with an A. Take care of one another. And as always, dear listener, don't open that door. Bye.
I feel like we have to title this Seaman with an A.